jump into the first one, which is Amplify. So Amplify, this basically, this effect increases or decreases the volume of the track. Now you might be looking at this wondering why would it decrease if it's amplifying, and I'll explain why. Basically, when you open up the dialog to do a amplify on an audio, it calculates out what the maximum amount you could amplify it to fit within the window. So if you remember your wave file when we were looking at Audacity, looking at EVPs last time, we have our blue wave showing us our peaks and our lows of our audio. The Amplify basically looks at how far it can extend it to the top of that window, basically to the ceiling or the floor, without causing it to clip audio, drop audio, or distort too much that you won't hear it. So in a case where the audio is very faint and you use this filter, the filter automatically calculates out and gives you a default number of how far you could amplify it before it starts distorting a lot. If your audio is already very loud because somebody talked into the microphone, or you picked up a loud bang or noise right next to the microphone, and you do amplify on that area, chances are it's going to give you a negative number, and it's going to try and shrink it back to fit into the window, knowing that it has already extended beyond the range of the window. That's very rare. Typically you don't have noises that loud, so most of the time the Amplify is going to simply amplify the audio. So let's jump into our demo. Okay, we're going to jump into our Amplify demo here. So I already have Audacity open, and I'm going to go up here to our file open, and I have a bunch of EVPs set up specifically for these demos, so I'm going to choose this one here. And again, these EVPs are already broken out EVPs following the lesson in part 1, where we went through and labeled our EVPs within our large 2-3 hour audio file, and I already broke these out, so you'll see this one's about 10.5 seconds, so it's a very short clip. So first thing I always like to do when I'm using the filters, because there are some things we're going to look at and tricks we're going to look at with the waveforms and the spectrum forms in here, is I want to increase the amount of visibility I have of the wave. So the first thing I do, and I taught you in lesson 1, was about dragging these wave windows down. So this is the first thing I do, is just drag it down as far as I can go to the bottom, and this extends my waves vertically so I can see a little bit more. This next trick is something I just personally use because it helps with the analysis, looking at it visually. Just always be careful, back up your files, make sure you have originals so that if you accidentally ever overwrite or save over anything, you can roll back. So in this case, what I do is I go to this menu here, and I am going to go down to where it says Split Stereo Track. So you'll see this track has left and right channels from my recorder. So I'm going to split it. And in this case, I wasn't using an external microphone, so both audio tracks are identical. They're mirror copies. So it works really good in this case. If you're using a left and right microphone, and there's differences and there's reasons to look at the two channels differently, you may not want to do this, but in this case, they're both the same, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get rid of my right channel. So now if I were to play this, you would hear only sound coming out of the left speaker. That's not really going to help in the situation we're at right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up here, and you can see it's marked as this is the left channel. I'm going to change this to mono. What that basically does is it turns it in from stereo to mono, meaning single channel, and it allows it to now play this single wave on both channels, left and right. So it will come out both headsets, both speakers. You'll hear it on both ears, which is what you want when you're doing this. So that's the first piece. The second piece here I'm going to do is flip over to the spectrogram, and we're not going to use it right now. I just want to show you where it is. So we're going to be going between our standard waveform, which is highlighted here, already deselected because that's the one we're on, and the spectrogram. And watch what it does when I change the spectrogram. It shows this colorful view. And the chart now changes, the level graph here, from 0K to 8K. This is the frequency. So this is showing from 0 Hertz up to 8,000 Hertz, showing the frequency wave. You can go in there and tweak these in the settings if you want to see as far up as 22,000 where the human range would be, or 20,000, 14,000. You can tweak that. But I just have it on default of 8K because, again, we're not typically getting stuff up into that, high range above, the human voice area where we're going to be looking anyway. So you'll see that down below here where the blue ends, we have a lot of red and we have a lot of white. This all represents the audio we're going to hear in this file. And of course, the brighter it is, the whiter it is, the more intense it is. These little faint yellow marks and things in here are just lesser audio. But in this case, we're going to flip back to our waveform to get started, and we're going to press play and listen to hear if we can hear our EVP inside this short clip of audio. Okay, so looking at this audio, I'm listening along, and I'm not sure if you picked up on it. Again, if you have headphones, great to listen to this with headphones. But somewhere in this range here, I hear something that starts. I have a short, kind of faint voice in the background, and then you can hear Cynthia talk, and then my voice much louder. You can see on the wave because I'm sitting right next to the microphone. So I'm going to play this just one more time. Listen somewhere in this general area here, somewhere between the 4 second and 6.5 to 6 3/4 second mark. So I'm not sure if you heard that audio, heard that EVP that is buried right below here, but there definitely is a voice. So what I'm going to do is, it's very faint. I want to make sure that I get this as loud as possible. So I'm going to use my Amplify tool. I'm hoping that it will help me. Again, you can listen, you can hear that there's a little bit of white noise in the background, a little bit of static. So when you amplify this, not only you're going to amplify the sound, but you're going to amplify the static, the white noise, everything. Everything will get louder. So you'll have to play with this a little bit and see what works for you. Sometimes it does help, sometimes it distorts the audio to the point where it doesn't really help and you're not going to be able to hear. So we're going to go and highlight our area where we start hearing our EVP, somewhere about in this range. Now I'm going to show you two different things that happens here. So if I highlight, you can see this one spike here, this clicker, this pop noise. I'm going to highlight that as part of my selection, even though I know there might not be EVP there. So I'm going to highlight that. And I'm going to go up here to Effect, and then I'm going to choose Amplify. So what Amplify does is, it basically, as I was talking in the presentation, it looks at the audio and it tries to figure out what the maximum amplification in decibels it can do to bring it up as close to the top of this window and the bottom of this window without distorting the audio. So here it figured out it can amplify it by about 23.6 decibels. Again, you can push this bar, that's why there's slider left, you can push it well beyond there, but it may distort your audio or make it so loud that you're not going to hear what is actually in the audio. So let it do its thing, let it calculate it out. So we're going to hit OK. And you can see that it changed my audio wave. One thing you're going to notice is that all the peaks are now expanded by the 23 decibels. But basically this one tall peak that was here, this noise or this click, is now the maximum point up here. So basically what that did was it doesn't amplify every single point on the wave chart. It amplifies the whole thing until the maximum is hit. So because we included this little spike, this topped out first, so everything else stops. So now if I hit quick undo here, I want to go back and remove that. I'm going to go back here and select again. I'm going to highlight this area again, but this time I'm not going to include that little spike that's already louder than everything else I'm working on here. I'm going to go into Effect and Amplify again. it's determining about the same decibel of amplification. And if I hit OK, you'll see that again it selected that tall peak, and the tall peak is maxed out. Here's where your other tools come in handy. Very hard to select this. So what we're going to do is we are going to go in here and we're going to use our zoom tool here. So we're going to go here and zoom this whole area here. And we want to go back a little bit. So now we can see this waveform a little bit better, and you can see it's still on the big chart. It looked like I didn't grab this piece, but I did. So I'm going to start here, and now that it's zoomed in, I can go a little bit further back. I can do a little bit better job of selecting the area. And we'll zoom back to the whole project, and now I'll hit Amplify. Now you can see the amplification's a little louder, a little higher decibel, because I didn't get that little spike in there this time. And you'll see that now this area over here is maxed out. So you have to play, make sure you use your tools that you learned in lesson 1, the zooming, zoom in and out with the plus and the minus, also zoom on the selection, fit the selection to the screen. All that is going to come in handy when you're doing this to make sure you're selecting the proper area. So now we have this selected, we are going to go back and we are going to play this audio file again from the beginning. So in this case you can hear that not only did my static get much louder here, but my EVP got much louder, and hopefully you're able to hear it a little bit better. Just to make it easy, I'm going to select the area where this EVP is, try and get rid of some of the static here and not select that, just the area where I think I heard my EVP. We'll play it again. Now I'll play it over several times and see if you can hear what that EVP is saying. So in this case, if you were able to pick up on the voice that you heard in the background, this was in Washington Theater. I was sitting up in theater number 1, up in the higher balcony rows. I definitely detected the presence of quite a few entities up here. There was about 3 or 4 entities at the time I was here, and this I picked up on my recording. Sounds like a male voice saying "kill them." Right afterwards, very, very faintly, won't work good for this demo because even the amplification doesn't work, but if you listen with your headphones, you can definitely hear that it sounds like a female response of yes. So it sounds like there's 2 entities here, one saying "kill them" and another saying yes. So definitely an interesting EVP, and by using the Amplify I was able to hear it a little bit better. And again, now that you've done this, if you want to save this version out to present along with your original evidence, all you have to do is go up here and use your tools. You can either select the whole piece or just go to export. So you either do export selection once you've selected your area, or just do export to do this whole file that I have in memory now. And you'll be able to go back in and take your file, and I'm not going to save it in this case, but just show you can add to it, or do like I did in the beginning where I wrote Amplify. That's how I preface mine. So my normal one would be Washington Theater Kill Them, and then I added Amplify before this. And you click Save, and it saves your audio out. So that's our demo on doing the Amplify filter, and definitely try it on some of your EVPs today, and I hope you're able to clarify a few of those EVPs that have been lingering around that you just can't quite hear.